Rekordbox and the cloud. It is possible, but they really don't like each other, and for that reason a lot of DJs get into trouble when they trying CloudSync in Rekordbox, and they hire me to fix those issues. And I saw myself doing the same thing all over again, and I thought, hey, why not make this available for all DJs so they can do it themselves. However, you need to be pretty technically literate in order to do this. This is not for the faint of heart. If you are not that technical, please don't play with it because it can ruin your collection. My name is MixMasterG. I am the developer of the DJ Conversion utility and many other apps for DJs. And in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how you can quickly change the prefix file path to audio files in Rekordbox. Let's go. Before going to the deep end of the pool, let me quickly refresh your memory because you need to fully understand what a file path is. A file path is for a computer what a URL is for an internet browser. It tells the system where your files are stored, and Rekordbox relies on those file paths to identify a track. Let me show you how a file path works, and for that I use Text Edit, which is available in every Macintosh. And if you change the format to plain text like this, and let's make the window a little bit bigger, and you drag an audio file into it, you can, by the way, drag any file you like into it, you will see its file path. Let's zoom in on this and then let's discuss what this file path tells us. It tells us that this particular MP3 file is stored in the users folder Filepath accounts on the desktop, and the file is named this. If I have that exact same file but then taken from a drive, it has a different file path. Even the audio file itself is the same, because this time it tells us that we are talking about volumes, audio files, which is the name of the drive, and then the file path because it was stored at the root of audio files, the drive. And the beginning of a file path like this we call the prefix. And if you want to change the Filepath account track to the drive account track, then you need to change the prefix, hence changing the prefix of a file path. And there are many instances where you want to do this. For instance, you have a Rekordbox database that originated on Windows, and all the tracks are stored on an external drive, and it was the H drive. So in Rekordbox, file paths look a little bit like this. However, that notation is something that a Macintosh doesn't understand, and you need to change that notation to volumes drive name. Another example is you have your audio files stored on Dropbox. That created a mess within your Rekordbox collection, and now you want to take all those audio files from Dropbox to an external drive and fix that in Rekordbox. That will be very technical, but I will demonstrate in this tutorial how to do it. But let's start with just a simple example. In this example collection, all my audio files are stored on a desktop folder named Oops, Wrong Name. And of course, I want to give it the right name. So before I start, I need to remember what the file path was to the audio files. Before I started, go to simple text, switch it to flat text mode, and then drag the prefix folder in so you can have the entire prefix from here for easy access. Now let's rename that folder and let's name it My Great Audio Files. And let's also put that. So now I've got the wrong prefix right here and the right prefix right there. Before we can continue, we need to put the tracks in a particular playlist so RCT knows which tracks to process. And that playlist will only be available in expert mode. And in order to start RCT in expert mode, you need to start it holding down the Alt or Option key. The moment you see this screen, you know that the playlists are created in Rekordbox and I can populate them with the tracks that I want to process. I need to quit RCT here and then start up Rekordbox. You can see that the expert mode playlist folder has been created. Let's make this a little bit wider so it's easier to navigate. And we need to move the tracks to change the file path prefix to the audio files. And you do that by simply selecting the tracks that you want to change and put them in. Remember, this is all led up by playlist content. So if you just want to experiment with it, put a few tracks in it before you dive all in, and then only those few tracks will be processed and everything else in your Rekordbox collection remains unharmed. Because the expert mode playlist is populated with tracks, this becomes available and we can say that we indeed want to change it. And this is where the simple text documents come in, because I don't have to remember what the original name was. I can just simply copy and paste it over here, and I can do the same with the destination, and copy it and then paste it over here. So we have all the parameters set, say start fixes, and if we navigate to the playlists again, you see that there is a processed folder this time, and the expert mode playlist folder is disappeared, has been removed. That is on purpose because I don't want you to play with it unintentionally. So that's the reason why you need to restart RCT with the option key down again in order to create that expert mode playlist. Right here we have the successful renamed folder, and if we load the track, then you see that it's loading just fine. And if you look at the file path, then you see it's now using the migrate audio files file path. This is the simplest form of using RCT. Let's go a step further and make it a little bit more complicated. Here is an example collection of Rekordbox, and as you can see by the location, these tracks have a very long file path. Let me show you where they are actually stored. They are in this folder, and then there is top level folder, second level, third level, and finally you find the tracks. In order for this system to work, the target files, where you want to change the file path to, must be available, and they are not right now, because what I want to do is I want to simplify this and then just use those two folders within there. So I duplicate them. The storage structure of the audio files after the prefix needs to remain untouched, which means I'm going to use level 4 and everything was before that as the prefix to change from, and I want to change it to simplifies on the desktop folder. Before RCT can change the prefix of those audio files, they need to be stored in a special folder, because RCT is led up by tracks in a playlist folder, and that playlist folder is not available yet. And because it's an expert mode playlist folder, you need to start RCT holding down the Alt key. If you see this screen, then the playlist, including the expert mode playlists, are created, and we can fill them with the tracks that we want to change the prefix of. You cannot use it right now because there are no tracks in those playlists. Let's make this a little bit bigger so you can easily see what we're talking about. You can see that the expert mode playlist folder is there, and within it we have to change the file path prefix to these audio files, and let's put all our audio files in it. It happens to be all the files with that very ridiculous long file path, as you can see. Now I can quit Rekordbox here and start up the Rekordbox Collection Tool again. This time the feature becomes available because there are 32 tracks in the designated playlist, so I can enable this feature, and then I need to tell it what we want to change. First of all, remember we were working from prefix, we were working from level 4 prefix, and if I drag it into there, then that very long file path will be entered into the old prefix box. And I want to go to the simplifies prefix, so if I drag that there, then you can see that looks a whole lot better. The moment I say start fixes, the system will start and automatically open Rekordbox when it's done. There is of course a processed folder created, and you can see that all tracks were successfully renamed, and if I load them up, they will load just fine. But look at how short those file paths have become. I can even now remove the original example tracks folder, and you are totally done with this. It doesn't matter how you change it, the only thing important is that the storage structure after the prefix you want to change and the storage structure after the prefix you want to change it to remains the same. And finally, let me demonstrate to you how you can make Dropbox stored track local stored tracks again, without losing cues, loops and all that other stuff in your Rekordbox collection. In this demonstration playlist you see tracks that are stored on Dropbox. Most of them have the Dropbox icon and you can see that they are in the cloud, and if you look at their location it says Dropbox and then something else behind it. Forget about that whole stuff, I just want you to notice this. These tracks don't have a Dropbox icon. They are not on the cloud and they have no Dropbox but a regular file path. However, these tracks are still stored on Dropbox. If I say show in the Finder, it goes to my Dropbox folder and within it there are the tracks stored. So these are still Dropbox tracks but not recognized by Rekordbox as being a Dropbox track. Reason for that is because I drag and drop them into Rekordbox without cloud enabled, and that screws up the whole system, and this is the main reason why I am helping so many DJs how to recover from a Dropbox debacle. It should be protected inside Rekordbox, but sadly it isn't. Before you dive into this, make sure that your cloud is disabled, that you are not syncing to the cloud. Very important, because you don't want this stuff to populate the cloud, especially if you are just experimenting with it. Once you have your collection back the way you want it to be and you want to have cloud functionality, the cloud needs to be erased. And that can only be done by Pioneer DJ or me myself. I charge 10 bucks for it and you can ask me how to proceed with that. But before you enable cloud, after cleaning this up, checking that everything is in order, you need to reset the cloud. Otherwise, all the wrong information that is stored in the cloud goes back to your computer instead of your computer putting all the stuff that is correct now into the cloud. Let's do some preparations, because RCT's change Filepath Prefix needs to have the audio files at the location where you want them to be. I want my audio files to be on this drive, audio files, but they are right now on Dropbox. And if you go to your Dropbox folder, then I can see test here. And remember those tracks that didn't have the Dropbox icon, those came from the 2025 folder. The ones that were correctly imported came from the Rekordbox folder. But I want to have them all, which means that I copy the test to my audio files. So the root of the audio files has a folder named test, and within it I now have the exact same storage structure as within my Dropbox collection. Let me put it in a different view like this. Then you see that indeed those two things are identical, and again the storage structures need to be identical. Time to create the RCT playlists by holding down the Option key and starting RCT. If you see this screen, the playlist has been created. We can quit RCT and we can populate the playlist in Rekordbox. Again, let's make this a little bit wider. Let's go to the expert mode, and then let's take all the tracks from my Dropbox test playlist and put them in the change the Filepath Prefix. Quit Rekordbox here, start up RCT, and because we populated the playlist, it will automatically go to the expert mode where we can enter the parameters. We want to go from Dropbox, so I drag this one inside the box and watch what happens. It automatically recognizes that it's the root of the Dropbox folder, so it changes this to root to Dropbox. Then let's take the destination. That will be this one, and let's start the fixes. Let's have a look at the results. There is a processed folder there with an expert mode folder with the changed audio file path, and you can see that they are successfully renamed. Notice that all the Dropbox references have gone, that there is no longer a downloaded icon there, and that everything just loads fine like it used to do. And if you look at the file path, you can see that everything is on the volumes audio files, wadi. So everything has been moved. I can now clear my Dropbox path. If I want to, I can empty my Dropbox folder, and that means my Dropbox is entirely clear. However, my Rekordbox is still functioning the way it's supposed to work, because all the tracks are on the audio files drive and no longer on Dropbox. Important takeaway from this once again is that first of all, the structure after the prefix needs to be the same on the source and the target. And if you want to do this with cloud stored tracks, you need to disable cloud. This is the moment where you would ask me to reset the cloud stored database, and then you can enable cloud storage again and do this all over again the proper way, and that will fix your entire system. I know that this is very technical, and there is a reason that I 3 to 4 times a week am on TeamViewer helping artists recovering from a CloudSync scenario. And for that reason I made this available. But if you use it, have backups, know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing, then experiment with just 2 or 3 files at a time, just to make sure that you don't mangle your entire Rekordbox collection. And you can always hire me to help you with it, but a day only has 24 hours, so I am not always immediately available. I'm sure this will help a lot of DJs. For those with questions, each Tuesday, 7 o'clock p.m. Central European Time, I host an Ask Me Anything live stream for DJs, where you can ask me all kinds of technical questions. And I don't only try to explain how certain things can be done, I also try to demonstrate how it can be done. So I hope to see you there. For now, thank you for watching. MixMasterG signing off.